I'd like to call the meeting of Building and Grounds Committee. Good morning, everyone, and welcome on this bright, beautiful day. We'll begin by taking roll call.
Ms. Parker,
Present.
Mr. Hunter,
Present via Zoom.
Mr. Hess, Mr. Snipes, Mr. Seroy, Mr. Dennell,
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra, Mr. Smith, Ms. Emmer Ertz, Mr. Ashcraft, Ms. Monday, Mr. Scanlon, Mr. Wheeler,
He's mute.
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay. We would need permission, a vote to vote in Mr. Hunter to take part by Zoom. We have a motion by Mr. Alexander and a second by Ms. Monday. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're going to begin. We have no public comment. Any public comment today? If not, we're going to move on to the approval of minutes from the August 10th meeting. If you've had a chance, we have a motion by Mr. Hess and a second by Mr. Dunhill. All those in favor of moving minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to presentations. We have none, and right over to Mr. Andrews.
All right, thank you. All right, good morning. We'll start off with the facility duty report for last month. We had 159 work orders in the system, so pretty average month from that aspect. Financial report that you have in front of you there. Overall, I would say good news. You can see at the bottom we're at 827 against 961 from this time last year. The line items that I really focus on are 52-100, which is building maintenance and improvements. You can see we're about $20,000 behind where we were at this point last year, which is certainly good news. Uniforms and service 54,550. That number is going to go up just a little bit because if you recall, we switched uniform providers this year. So we've got some initial setup charges and such that are going to put us over a little bit on that. But next year, we will basically be where we were at this point this year. So cost should be basically the same going forward, except some initial setup charges. Soil conservation service, that's an error. I'll have to talk to Steve on that. Something got coded incorrectly. Maintenance contracts 56,200. You can see we're at 76 versus 91 last year. That number should be pretty close by the end of the year, so probably just some timing issues with regards to some of our maintenance contracts and getting the invoices in and paid. Miscellaneous services 56,400. This is always a big one. This is going to be our service repairs by outside contractors. And as a reminder, we try to perform all of our repairs in-house until such time that we're not able. And then we have to make a phone call, and that's how we've done things since, for the last 5 years since I've been here. So 99 versus 115. So happy that we are behind where we were at this point last year. And then the only other one, actually two more I'll talk about, 56,850 is miscellaneous supplies. We're behind again where we were at this point last year as well. Let's see. And then the last one we'll talk about is building improvements, 87,510. 26 versus 160, which that should be to be expected because we had a lot of building improvements last year, and that number is only going to go higher. If you recall, we had the hot water storage tanks out at Jerome Combs that we recently did, and then once they got into that, they found valves that didn't work and need to be replaced, so that number is going to go up. And then we're also working on some flashing and reglazing of some windows out at JCDC, which I'll cover here in my report in a minute. So that's all I got on the finances. Is there any questions? All right. If not, we'll move on to the building report. Similar to last month, lots of HVAC related issues here in this building. Most of them at this point have been fixed. We had issues on the 5th floor, we had issues on the 4th floor, and we currently have an issue on the 1st floor that we're trying to work through. The issue is when a compressor goes out or a coil goes down or has too many leaks, our units are very, very old, and trying to find like components for our units can be difficult at times. So that's what we're working on. The equipment that we need for the unit on 1 is in, and I'm currently working with the gentleman to get that installed. The nice part about something that goes down on 1 is it's one of 3 air handlers that we have on 1. So some of the other areas in the building that are only serviced by 1, when it goes down, obviously that's going to create a problem. And the issues have been coil and compressor related on all of them. Let's see, the granite repairs are finally done. This is something that's been kind of put on the back burner. It's been about actually, I'm embarrassed to report, it's been about a 5-year project. The granite on the outside of this building had been cracked and hit, one on this side when a car had hit the building many years ago, and then another one on the front. And the issue was always trying to find the right granite to match our building. And it was very difficult, but we have now located it. So if we ever have a need in the future, we know where to get it, and that has been completed. The roof is going to begin soon on I always called it the old VAC. I got to call it the new SAO building to our north here on Schuyler. If you recall, we had a windstorm, thunderstorm, whatever you want to call it, several months ago. The insurance company approved the estimate that was submitted for the repairs, less our deductible, which is $10,000. So that building's going to get a new roof basically for $10,000, which is not a bad deal. Generators were recently serviced at all buildings. We've talked at this committee a couple times about what we do on a preventative maintenance schedule. Our generators are one of those, is one of the critical systems that we do PM. And they identified a laundry list of needed repairs that I'll be working through over the next month. And if you look, when you walk out of this building, you can look at our generator here and take a look at the muffler up top on it. It is something that I have put off, and Brian Gadboy's put off. Well, it's time. I mean, there's more of the muffler on the ground, I think, than there is on the top of the unit. So that's something that I would like to get done here yet this year. Moving on to the courthouse, I believe all the water issues have hopefully been mitigated. We installed some flashing around the base of the building to hopefully alleviate that. The circuit clerk's employees have moved into their newly completed suite in the basement, and I have not heard of any issues, so knock on wood there, but they are inside their new office area in the basement. Which brings me to the next point. I'm still working with Doug Bright and Bright Architecture. He has been formally hired for the second floor design, architecture, bid documents, etc. And I'll be working with him, I'm sure in conjunction with the chairman and others on that project. The annex and old jail, I'm actually meeting today at 10:30 with Bright Architecture, the sheriff, and others to discuss the exterior project that we discussed at last month's meeting. If you recall, we're looking at tuck pointing the old limestone, the windows, caulking, etc. There's going to be some roof work in there as well. So we'll be meeting with them today, as well as PSI, who is going to serve as our project manager on that project. It will be a significant project. It's going to need quite a bit of coordination. So we're going to kick that off today at 10:30. We'll be discussing getting that project off the ground. Out at JCDC, again, we did the preventative maintenance on the generators. We have 3 of them out there. All 3 are in need of some sort of repairs, whether that's batteries or other things. But yeah, there's be some money that we're going to have to spend on our generators, which obviously we have no choice. That's a critical system that we need to operate when we need it. And then the other system that we always perform preventive maintenance on is our UPS systems, and that is scheduled for the 22nd of this month, I believe. So they'll be going through all of our UPS systems at Jerome Combs and the old jail. So that's underway. Currently, we're working on. So we've always dealt with window leaks at Jerome Combs, and I guess not Jerome Combs. I call the whole place Jerome Combs, but public safety, the glass windows that go around public safety. And again, I've talked at this committee many times. That building is, basically 20 years old, and a lot of the seals on the windows were bad. We were getting some water inside in several areas over the years. So what started off as kind of a small reglazing project has morphed into a slightly larger project, because the drivet that goes around the building that they used on the exterior has many holes in it. And if you look, if you're ever over there, go up on the second floor and look down from an office, you can see small holes pretty much all over the window sills where the drivet meets the window. And so obviously when it rains, that's another point of water as well, where water's getting in the building. So we're working on reflashing the windows to obviously keep the water out of the facility. So that's ongoing right now. We talked at last month's meeting about ovens. We've had oven issues at Jerome Combs, again, 20-plus-year-old ovens. And I'm happy to report we actually, through the company that runs the kitchen at Jerome Combs, made us aware of an oven unit, a double oven unit that was available for purchase here in town. New, those units are about $15,000. We got it for much, much less than that. So we're picking it up tomorrow, and we'll bring it out there, hook it up, make sure it works, troubleshoot it, and then we'll pay for it. But I mean, a substantial savings, and it's basically the same type of oven units that we're operating out there now anyway. So really, that actually something worked out well for a change. Dishwashing system is something that, as you can tell, between finishing the courthouse project, starting the new courthouse project, doing the old jail project that we're going to be starting, I'm only one guy, and it's hard to really keep all these projects and all these balls in the air moving at the same time. The dishwashing system is something that I had started to work on a couple months ago, but that is something else that I'm going to try to focus on in the next month to get some hard figures on that. Because again, that's a 20-plus-year-old dishwashing system that is nearly obsolete. You can't find parts for it. When something goes down, you got to go to China and try to find some aftermarket part that may work for a month. So that's something that I need to try to focus on, certainly before the end of the year, to figure out what we're going to do with the dishwashing system out there. We had some HVAC control system issues that we've been working through this week. Those are taken care of. And that's about it. So any questions on the building report?
Mr. Snipes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those coils that you were talking about, and compressors and that we operate on, that's kind of old. Have your department pursued, or have they already received ARPA monies? Any of those be beneficial?
No, we've talked. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's probably 17 units in this building. So I've talked a few times about looking into possibly replacing those, and I've talked to the chairman about it, and it's just a timing related issue right now, is trying to figure out when's the right time. And if there may ever be a right time. So that's just something that we have had conversations about, but for one reason or another, the timing is just not right at this point to go ahead and go overhaul all of the units in this building. So.
Okay. And that one lady that, that lady or gentleman, whomever, that hit this building, did we catch them and hopefully he had insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I think it was like 5 years ago. It was a long time ago. But I remember getting the check, and yes, we deposited it.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay.
All right. I think the next item on the agenda is animal control update. So obviously with the project just starting, not a whole lot to report there. I will say I was there at the groundbreaking yesterday, and as we were talking before the meeting, it did go very well. We are going to have to buy a new speaker system. So maintenance has always had a speaker system that we've used for like the police memorial. So if you've ever been to the police memorial, the speakers that set up there, those have always been maintenance speakers that we've used. It worked fine last time we used it. We brought it out there yesterday, plugged it in, no power to the speaker system. So it's something wrong internally. And the units, I believe they were here before Brian Gadboys were here. So I've been here over 5 years. He was here 6 years. So the unit is easily 12 years plus old. So I'm going to look into hopefully getting a new one that we can use for any types of events like that in the future, and then as well use it for the police memorial that we have every year. We had our conference call on Tuesday, so every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, I believe, we have a conference call with White to discuss any issues, get updates, etc. So we had our first call on Tuesday. Nothing, glaring to report. The call went fairly well. They've done a lot of demo over there. For those of you that were there yesterday, you saw that. I mean, the building is basically, cleaned out. There ain't much in there. Things seem to be moving pretty well, knock on wood. But again, we're only a couple weeks into this at this point. So I obviously have more to report on next month, but we'll just incorporate an animal control update monthly in our meetings here. So that's all I got. Are there any questions?
Mr. Snipes.
When you get, just a recommendation, when you get that new speaker system, kind of Bluetooth friendly.
Oh, for sure. Less cords. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was just saying.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
Any other questions or comments about animal control? It was a great day. It was a great day. Okay, is there any old business that we need to discuss? Yes, Mr.
Last month you talked about finding some lawn care services for the buildings other than, did you get anywhere with that?
Good memory. So yes and no. I did receive a couple quotes. However, I had some initial discussions with the union that manages my people, and we're kind of hitting a sticking point on that I'm trying to work through. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to, but it probably won't be something that we're going to be able to get through until probably springtime, I would guess, at this point.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business? If not, we'll move on to new business. Any new business? Any other business? Okay, with that, entertain a motion to Miss Monday, seconded by Miss Earps. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Nay? Motion